Okay, so the next question is from Jonathan, and he says, not feeling stuck at the moment, but also all too familiar with the surge of excitement that can come with a new project. It's the follow through that's the killer. I'm laughing because I know it. Knowing there are dozens of moving parts in launching a thing and wishing I didn't have to be the everything guy, but limited budget means that I am, realistically, at least for now. So yeah, I guess the question is about mindset and strategy once past the honeymoon phase of a new project.
Oh man. Well, isn't that the truth? For some people, though, the first thing, some people are starters and some people are sustainers. There's a different, I don't know, personality type. Some people love starting new things all the time, and then other people just love maintaining and administrating and spreadsheets and all that. So it's not everybody. This isn't a universal thing. But if you are somebody who's got that starting energy, then you absolutely, as you build your business, are going to need somebody whose favorite thing is organizing their pencils on their desk, and the introvert who just let me just get things all squared away. Um, that's what you need. You need somebody with that solid um, structure, in their approach. If you don't have it, because the you can try to improve on your weaknesses, but they're just going to be less weak. It's not a good strategy. Instead, we want to build on our strengths. So, okay, your strength is you're a starter. Keep working that. That's great. But then bring people in to sustain. So that's one element of this. The second thing is we don't have to start everything now. You can have lots of ideas. So make sure you have a place to capture your ideas. And maybe once a year you sit down, write down each idea on a different index card. And then just imagine you've got 5 piles in front of you for the next 5 years and just see which pile it goes into. Is this a this year project? For real? Do you have the bandwidth? Do you actually have the time to do this? What's the cost of this going to be? What are you going to have to say no to if you say yes to this? And then you divide it up and then take all the stuff in the 1 year pile, this year or the next year, and you just, okay, let's make 4 piles for each quarter. Where do they go? Do they all have to happen in the first quarter? Or could some of them wait until the end of the year? So you can do that. The other thing is sometimes the reason we say yes and get excited is because people ask us and we want to make them happy. So we say yes. And a good guideline, a good tool is you just say, every time somebody asks you for help, you say, I'd love to, that sounds amazing. I'd love to. Let me get back to you tomorrow, and then sleep on it. Get out of the presence of that other person so you can be sane, not just see their smile and, oh my God, I want to work with you. I want to do all this. The fourth thing is systems. We really want to have strong systems in our business. The reason that we can't seem to bring other people in is because we don't know what we want them to do. And the reason we don't know what we want them to do is because we probably haven't thought it through very much. But so in the beginning, the assistant you're going to need is a kind of everything assistant. Yeah, there's going to be just a lot of little things to do. And so here's my recommendation is you start with a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, you're going to want to have a number of things. You're going to want to have some just one-time things, like jobs that just like this isn't a repeated thing. I just need somebody to do this to get it off my plate so I can focus on other things. Then you're going to want a little tab in that spreadsheet for the meetings that you have with this person. Every time we meet, these are the things we really need to go over every single time. Then you're going to want to have a tab for the daily things they do, the weekly things, the monthly, the quarterly things, and the annual things. And you just put in to the best of your ability, like, yeah, what are things that somebody else could do for you once a week, once a month? And you get very clear about those things, as clear as you can, and it won't be the finished product at all. It'll be very rough. And then you bring somebody in and you say, look, here's our main job is to improve this system. We want to make this better, tighter, cleaner. We need to add some things. We're going to need to cut some things. And you just keep working with that person and you develop the system with them. And then if something goes wrong, it's not personal. It's not this employee's fault, or maybe they're just terrible, and they never show up and they never do anything they say they're going to do. And if that's the case, then you fire them. But for the most part, it's just like, oh, that didn't work, so it must be the system. We must need to add a step or some kind of reminder. Or maybe we should talk about that every time we meet, or maybe we should create a place where that can go, or maybe, you start to figure these things out collaboratively over time. Most people, when they hear, oh, I need an assistant, they think, oh, I need to hire some full time, like 5 hours a week, 5 hours a month. You just start with what you have. And as you figure your business out and what the architecture is that you need, you can start passing things on, and that will free up time. I heard this from, I forget his name. He said, business marketing coach. He said, in the beginning, you're trading time for money. Yeah. You're spending an hour one-on-one with somebody and they pay you. You lead a workshop and they pay you. But it's your time. You have to be there doing the thing. But eventually you use money to buy time, because now you're too busy. You can't do all the things, as the question pointed out. So eventually you use the money to buy your time back. And yes, there's a crunch period, but this is not unfamiliar in the human experience. When it's make hay while the sun shines. There's a time where you're building a house. Well, welcome to your life. You just had a kid. Welcome to your life for the next few months. This will interrupt everything. Hopefully it interrupts everything. So there's a time when you're building a business, it's just all hands on deck and it's a lot of work. That's how it is. There's just certain inflection points you got to grow to another level if you want to. You leave your job and you start a business. Well, even if you've been building it on the side, it's probably going to be like a hustle in the beginning. And then you want to go to the next level, and there's another level of a hustle. We just don't want to live there forever. And those transition points are largely about building a system and building the architecture. Because what we're trying to do in a business is build a house that we can live in long term. And now, how big you want that house to be, how many rooms, that's up to you. But the alternative is, no, I don't want to do the work. I'm building a house, so I'm just going to live under this tarp. I'll just string it over some trees, and that's great in the short term. But as you get older, is that what you're going to want? A tarp? Yeah. And of course, there's questions around investment and where do we invest our time and our money. And there's the stock market, and there's crypto, and there's gold and silver. And I would just make the case that the best investment you got is your business, if you're an entrepreneur. Because if you build it right and you build the architecture, that's something you could sell. And you're in much more control of your business than any of those other things. That's my personal take on it. Any thoughts, Betty?
Yeah, just about, he did mention in the question that it sounds to me like he wants to be able to hire, but he's not quite there yet, at least for now, he says. So I'd be curious to ask you about how it was for you, Ted, but just before you got to that stage of hiring someone, like what were those, how did you prepare for that?
Oh man, I didn't. There was no anything in it. I got so busy and I realized I needed help. And it was just odd jobs. In the beginning, that's probably all it is. Can you do this? Can you type this up? Could you do research some venues for me? So I just put on Facebook, anyone need work? I can pay $15 an hour. Yeah, I need work. Great. Can you go do this thing? And so while they did that, and it was just $30 they spent a couple hours, but that freed up my time and allowed something to happen. Because if I couldn't research venues, then I wasn't able to find a venue, which means I couldn't do the workshop, which was going to bring in the money. So you just will notice as you start, there's certain gaps like, man, if I could just get this one thing off my plate and moving, I could take the next step. But I keep seeing it there and I keep meaning to do it and I don't. And if there's stuff that just won't leave your plate, maybe you can find some. And I'm talking a friend's college age kid just needs work. You don't need a pro. This is where people get stuck. They think, oh, I need to do now research on virtual assistant agencies and I need to, oh my God, I got to compare them. I guess I got to have some spreadsheet. No. In the beginning, you just friends, people that need work. And your friend's kid, hire them for stuff. And this will free you up. And the thing I didn't do in the beginning, but also, I didn't have anyone like me. I was sort of freestyling. But if you really start to figure out your niche and you think through your business model, certain jobs will appear fairly obviously, like, oh, I need somebody to do this type of thing. And when people say they can't afford it, well, that it in the sentence is mysterious. What is the it you're imagining you can't afford? To have a full-time $50 an hour, I don't know, like rock star social media marketing whiz assistant? Sure, maybe you can't afford that, but could you afford $10 an hour for your, for and some pizza for some high school kid, who needs some work? Probably. So we put spells on ourselves. We say I can't afford it, and we never interrogate what the it is. Like, what are you thinking? You got to afford. In the beginning, I just guarantee you. Well, I won't guarantee. I know sometimes we're really, really broke, but it's almost certain that you can afford something. So you start with that, and then that will allow you to afford more. All right.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you. I hope that helps, Jonathan.